Hello, my name is Dilshani, and this is my channel, An Expat Knits. I am an American expat that's currently living in Germany, Stuttgart, Germany specifically. My husband, 3 dogs, and I moved to Stuttgart. Well, I arrived in Stuttgart in November 3rd of 2021, which honestly seems like forever ago. So this channel is primarily about 2 things: my knitting and traveling. My husband and I moved here because of his job, and I have the fantastic opportunity of being able to telework. And I have a pretty flexible schedule. Honestly, I make my own schedule. So that means that we are able to take advantage of the proximity of so many countries, just within a train ride or a short car trip. Now, for somebody like me who loves to sit in the passenger seat and knit, I like long drives. And my husband, happy to drive. So we make a perfect pair. I love car knitting. Okay, let's be real. I love knitting, period. One of my German friends noted the other day that I'm always knitting. And I am. If I am sitting still, I'm knitting. I don't know when that started, really, the knitting all the time. It certainly wasn't when I began knitting, but I would say probably within a couple years of me learning how to knit, I was knitting all the time. And I have to keep my hands busy. It helps me focus, but it also helps me not get overwhelmed. I do have anxiety, and this helps me not get overwhelmed by circumstances or people or what have you. And also, I just like the rhythm of it. There's something very soothing about knitting for me. So, which brings me to my origin story, I guess, of how did I learn and when did I learn to knit? Married, I have 2 kids, and I'm pregnant with my son, Nate. Well, Nate ended up being a high-risk pregnancy, and I went into preterm labor. So, because of that, I had to, do bed rest, which, let me tell you, with 2 young boys was a challenge. Well, my husband's boss, Tony, came over and she brought me yarn and needles and re-taught me how to knit. And I took to it. There was something about it, maybe the situation, maybe my age, I don't know, but it was just like that. It felt like it just lined up for me. So, because I had nothing else to do, I knit. And I knit through that entire ball of yellow yarn. I remember it's this vivid, like, bright golden yellow. Anyway, Tony wasn't set to come back until the weekend. And this was like a Tuesday, I want to say. So I dispatched my husband to go get me yarn. I didn't know anything about weight or joining or anything, but I was bored. I had finished this ball. I loved it, and I didn't want to stop. So sent him out, and he came back with a big ball of blue yarn. So then I figured out, I tied a knot and knit through that whole ball. So now I've got a yellow and blue sampler of knit stitches and purl stitches and ribbing and stockinette and garter, because that's all I knew to do. And it stretched from one end of the apartment all the way to the other end. So Tony comes back on that weekend, and I don't know what she was expecting, but she was shocked when she saw my progress. She's like, okay, we need to get you a project. So, of course, I wanted to knit something for the baby. And we went to a yarn shop in Elmhurst, Illinois, that I'm not sure is around anymore, called Have You, E-U-E, Any Wool. And went upstairs and started perusing yarn. Well, I am from a tropical country. I am drawn to cotton. Also, I have some sensitivities when it comes to fiber and things that touch my skin. So for me, it was natural to purchase cotton. So I found a Debbie Bliss book, and it was Debbie Bliss's Nursery Knits. And in there was this beautiful pattern for, it looked like a quilt, as in it had little blocks, right, with what I know now to be moss stitch, shall we say, separations, and inside was intarsia. I had been re-knitting, like knitting in earnest, for a week, and my brain was like, you can do that. And so I'll never forget, Deb was the owner of Have You Any Wool, and she looked at me, and to her credit, Deb and I became friends, and until I moved, and she looked at me, and to her credit, didn't dissuade me. She didn't say, I don't think you can do this. She just looked at me and she went, okay, this is gonna be challenging. And she said, but I believe you can. And I did. Not without significant challenge, by the way. Pause. That's loud. However, I'm upstairs and the window is helping keeping it airy. So I'm hoping that noise goes away, and I'm sorry if it's distracting. If it gets really bad, I'll shut the window. Anyway, back to the story. So we buy the yarn and gorgeous dark wood Brittany needles and come home. And so I am always like interested in waiting for the sound. Please. I'm back. I paused because something was going on outside that window and I didn't want to fight with it. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. So I take the Debbie Bliss book, bought it of course, and the yarn, and I'm looking at this pattern and I decide, you know what would be great for a brand new knitter? Let me lay out the pattern on the floor, and I want to make it bigger in pattern. So I sat down and with Post-it notes on the apartment floor, on the carpet, figured out the pattern and the repeat of the intarsia blocks and increased the size of this blanket. Because, I mean, in for a penny, in for a pound, right? And I knit that blanket for 3 months. It was Rowan cotton, actually. Gorgeous Rowan cotton. And happily knitting along, sticking to pattern. Admittedly, I did cast it on 3 different times. But when I finally got going, it was great, right? So, we're about a month away from the end of my the end of my time on bed rest. Sometimes my words go away, and it's not that they go away necessarily, it's just that I struggle with picking the right word. I am, English is not my first language. Sinhalese actually is. You wouldn't know it, but it is. And as a result, sometimes my sentence construction is a little odd, and I might say things a little backwards, but that's me. Anywho, getting back to this story of this blanket. So it comes time to bind the thing off. Now, any knitter will tell you every single pattern says bind off loosely. And there's a reason for that. I, however, my, at this point, 2-month baby knitting brain was like, yeah, that's sure, bind off loosely. They mean that for other people. Actually, they mean it for everybody. And boy, did I strangle that yarn because I was terrified that it was going to come apart. So I didn't end up with a rectangular or square blanket. I ended up with a trapezius. And there was no blocking that out. None whatsoever. So, but my son loved it. Literally loved it to death. As in the cotton over time, due to him, fondling it and just being a toddler and a baby, it disintegrated. And sadly, that blanket is no more. If I can find a picture of it before I upload this video, I'll try and add it. Also, I'm going to try and stop saying so much. But this is my first video, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to jump in. I've been thinking about doing a YouTube video for a minute, and I guess I just didn't have the confidence because I thought to myself, well, what do I have to share? What could I bring to this community? And I realized a lot, but mostly there aren't very many Sri Lankan knitters. Actually, I only know of one other one. Her name is Daki, and she is Wool in the Forest, and I'll link her channel somewhere. I think in the show notes or description. Again, first video, but I'll figure this out. Anyway, I will tag her. So anyway, Daki is the only other Sri Lankan knitter that I know of out there in the big wide world. And I just wanted to include, like, my daughter, for example. She knits. My sons also. I taught all of my sons how to knit. But there aren't very many people that look like me that are in the knitting universe, and nobody has my life experiences, right? And I have this unique opportunity to take everybody with me when I go to different places. I have been fortunate. I visited Hamburg a couple months ago, and there's a gorgeous yarn shop called My LYS, and Naima, the owner, oh, I love her. She is so sweet, right? She told me, when I told her, I said, yeah, I'm thinking of starting a YouTube channel. She goes, please come back and record, and we can do an episode. So that's right there, going to be an episode in Hamburg at this yarn shop. It is incredible. And I love knitting in that way, that it connects me to people. Another friend of mine that I made, a friend I made on the train coming home from Berlin. I went to see another friend of mine from the States. She had come to Berlin, and we were only going to be in the same space for like 2 days. So took the train, and on the way home, I took out my knitting as per usual, and I look over, and kitty corner to me, this lady, beautiful, sits down, and she has this really neat bag, and out comes her knitting. And we look at each other and we smile, and wouldn't you know it, a few minutes later, we started chatting. We didn't stop talking until she and her husband came to their stop, which was like 5 hours later. Her name is Sabile, and she lives about 30 minutes from here. So once a month, I drive out to her house and we sit for 5 or 6 hours. We drink tea and eat snacks and knit together. And she has been just this wonderful friend, resource, and just a super cool person to bounce ideas off of. And really fun person to learn and teach me more about the German knitting community and traditions and things like that. Now, locally, so I live near this place called Burka. And in Burka is a yarn shop called Heidi's. When we first moved to Stuttgart, we had to find a place to live. And I'd written this list. I wanted 3 things. I wanted a German Oma or grandmother. I needed a fenced-in backyard because we have 3 dogs. And I needed, not wanted, needed to be near a yarn shop. So the previous renters of where we live now invited us out to lunch. And when we went to lunch in Burka. And right across the street from where we were having lunch was a Wolleladen. And it said Heidi's Wolleladen. And of course, I said to my husband, I'm like, I gotta go. I'll be right back. Now, to his credit, he has become quite accustomed to my dashing off to yarn shops. He also now knows that any place we visit, I'm going to find a yarn shop and have to peruse it. So we have an agreement and there's no issues, right? So I dashed off. It was a Wednesday. And when I went inside, it's a bakery on one side. And then there's these tables. So like a bakery / cafe. And then there's 2 large walls of yarn. And Heidi, the owner, immediately came to welcome me. And as she does everybody. She's the sweetest, kindest, most welcoming person you'll ever meet. Anyway, and she doesn't speak English. Now, a funny thing about Germans is if you ask them if they speak English, almost everybody is going to say a little with that little accent. Well, their a little is conversational English, okay? They are more self-conscious, I think, that in their mind they don't believe that they speak very well. Let me tell you, they speak great English. Well, Heidi doesn't speak any English. And there was a lady there by the name of Beate. Well, Beate spoke English. She has a sister that lives in North Dakota. So Beate translated for me. And eventually Michael, my husband, came over and we were talking and they invited me to come knit. And I looked at my husband and I just had the look like we have to rent this house because it is walking distance. Well, like a 20-minute walk, which I don't mind, or a 8-minute bus ride from my doorstep to Heidi's. And I mean, what more could you want, right? German pastries. There's ice cream in the summer. Also, there are these ice cream confection drinks that Heidi makes in the summertime that are worth it all by themselves. And then yarn, right? So, needless to say, here I am. We we rented the house. And here I am in my loft, which I love. Yes, I love my loft. Am I going to show it to you right now? No, because it's not exactly completely picked up. However, in a later episode, because I think I'm going to continue recording these, I will definitely show portions of my loft. Anyway, I digress. So, moved to Stuttgart in November, and as of January, I had made some knitting friends, and now every Wednesday and sometimes on Saturdays, I go and sit with the ladies and knit. And as a result, my German, which I'm learning, has improved. I now understand easily 75% of the conversation going on around me. They have taught me a lot, and I am constantly fascinating them with my non-monogamous knitting. I think they think that I'm a little nutty, which, let's be real, I am. But I am constantly, like, they are constantly in German, like, so, because I usually have a different project with me. Speaking of projects and this channel, I will be featuring, my finished objects, stuff that I'm working on, so whips and dream projects and acquisitions. Although my acquisitions are going to be slower because I have a contract with myself about the busting my balls stash busting thing with that Leanne on a Nitty Stew. Also will tag that in the place that you tag the things. So Leanne has this contract, and yes, I have some addendums in there, like for the entire month of January. I didn't abstain because it's my birthday month. Then there was Valentine's. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Also, I'm a patron of the new Teeden Patreon thing. And so, as a patron, I'm kind of obliged to purchase their yarn. That's why I'm a patron, right? So, but honestly, I am knitting from stash. For example, this is the Whiskey Neat sweater by Thea Coleman, who I love her patterns, okay? So this is a whip. And this was a knit from stash. And then I have patterns and test knits that I do that I don't knit from stash. So hold on a moment. This is the Life. Like right now, it's starting to get chilly. That was my dog, Ellie Pie. She's a Shih Tzu. And she is my constant, or rather near constant, companion. Anyway, something, if you continue to follow along, you will notice that I wear layers and I have hot flashes. And so it's always a game of, can we find the most comfortable temperature? So it started out super sunny. And now I've got cloud cover, and it's chilly for me. So one of my absolute favorite pieces is my Llano sweater by Barker Wool. The yarn is by Barker Wool. The pattern is by Barker Wool, or Dawn, who's a dear friend of mine. I love her dearly. Another tag. Boy, I'm tagging a lot. I'm gonna have to figure that out. This was a test knit that I did, and I love green. Green is my favorite color. And when we met up for the first time in real life, when I was in the States, November of 22, for my son's wedding, we met, and this is the yarn that I had picked out, and she was kind enough to bring it to me. So I love this pattern. I love this yarn. This is BFL. And as I mentioned before, I have skin sensitivities. So depending on how warm I am, I can be more sensitive. Naima from my LYS was explaining to me that when we are warm or get warmer, our the cells or skin pores open, and so we are more sensitive or aware of guard fibers. This sweater and this yarn does not bother me at all. I have actually slept in this. I was sick last week, and I had the chills. I slept in this. Yes, it's been washed since then, but this is super comfortable. So this is my Llano. It did grow when I blocked it. So this was supposed to be like 3/4 length, and it's bracelet, I think is what we would call it now, but you know, see? And all of the details are on my Ravelry page. I am very good about updating my Ravelry page. I love having everything there. And I recently purchased the Ravet app so that, I think I said that right. I don't know. So that I can easily access my my stash, my needles, my projects, and what have you. But this, if you want a pattern that's going to keep you engaged, is interesting but not so complex that you can't like watch TV or take with you, this is that pattern. It is knit from, I don't know, I'm stretching. So it's knit from, you start on a sleeve and then knit, it's knit flat, by the way. So the only seams are here and here. And you can make adjustments to the size once you have done your sleeve to determine how long it is. Super cool. I was happy to be part of the test, and I look forward. This is the second test I've done for Dawn. I knit her. I tested her Murder of Crows in Bohem. It's like a black with this red. I have a photo of it, which I'll try to link. My daughter co-opted that sweater. It's not here. It doesn't live here anymore. My daughter wears it all the time. So purchased more yarn from Dawn, and it's in my stash, and it's going to be part of, it's going to be cast on here shortly. So why so many sweaters? Well, when I started knitting as an adult, I was a young mom with two kids. Third baby, ended up having a fourth baby. So yes, I have 4 kids. And I couldn't afford a sweater's worth of yarn. And going forward, different life experiences ended up just, affecting my ability to purchase sweaters worth of yarn. I ended up becoming addicted to sock knitting. So for a long time, I was a die-hard, 2 at a time, toe up sock knitter. Still am. Like, I always have a pair of socks on the needles. And shawls was big into shawls. As a matter of fact, when I lived in Albuquerque, Claudia Donnelly Knits, I think that's the right tag. She's on Ravelry. Fabulous shawls. And so for a long time, I knit her patterns and other really intricate Boo Knits shawl patterns. I was into things that were complex, that would keep me engaged, and just beautiful, right? Well, this year, I decided that I was going to knit a sweater a month. And I wanted to knit things that fit me the way I wanted them to, not necessarily the way they're supposed to, maybe. As I mentioned, I have skin sensitivity. I also don't like things to be too tight. And due to some mental health challenges from childhood, actually adolescence, I have a tendency towards some type of body dysmorphia. Not some type. What I mean is that I envision my body to be bigger than it actually is. And so I have a tendency sometimes to knit things way bigger than they should be. Thankfully, I've had therapy and worked through a lot of stuff, and now it's not as unconscious. I'm far more aware of it, and as a result, I now am able to knit things that fit appropriately rather than these uber outsized garments. I digress. So in January, I decided I would like to knit a sweater a month. And I did. Well, I did a little bit more than that. I have knit, this will be, the Whiskey Neat will be my 6th sweater in 3 months. And I will feature all of those. I think that'll be my next episode maybe, where I will show each of the sweaters that I've knit thus far. This was the 2nd sweater. Far and away my favorite. Because, well, it's comfy and it's not itchy, but I digress. And then, I've been digressing a lot, actually. You know, that brings me to spaghetti. I call it spaghetti, and it's not my own personal term. I didn't come up with it. I don't remember where it was that I learned about it. Definitely in a therapy book. But I think the analogy is that women's brains or thought patterns sometimes are like spaghetti, right? Where they're noodles, they're touching, and, one thing leads to another thing. Whereas guys have a tendency to be more like waffles, where everything is compartmentalized, I guess. Now, granted, that's a generalization. I'm not saying everybody is like that, but I have spaghetti. So, that's something you should probably be aware of, is that for me, things make sense in my brain, and I kind of just go with the flow, right? Anyway, that's why I digress so much, I think. Oh, hey, Pisces. Do you want to come up? All right. This is Ellie Pie. She's my Shih Tzu. And yes, her name is Ellie Pie. The story there is I used to call her Cutie Pie, and then her name is Ellie, so it became Ellie Pie. She is she's my dog. She goes everywhere with me except on some travel. And she sleeps in the bed at my feet. No matter what I'm doing, she's my shadow, basically. So getting back to the sweater a month thing. I'm about to take this off now because the sun is out and I'm getting warm. See the whole hot flash thing? Hot flash, menopause, all the joys of being a middle-aged, I don't like that term, by the way, woman. And I also don't like the term a woman of a certain age. I'm not a certain age. I'm 48. Anyway, so I have knit 2 Nutiden sweaters. One of them I will showcase next. It's like a jacket. I have used it so much since I knit it. And I'll go more into that in the next episode. Then I knit the Llano. Then I knit the ranunculus. I was super, super, super late to that party. And I knit it short sleeve. It's lightweight, and still, I don't know if it's menopause or me or what, but it is warm for me still sometimes. 1, 2, 3. Then I knit a New Tiden cardigan. It was cardigan number 9, I think. From my favorite things. Beautiful, like blousey, and I knit it on huge needles, holding the New Tiden double. It was the silhouette color. Oh my gosh, it's like air, you know. So that's 4. I can't think of the 5th one. It'll come to me. But yeah, so I have knit quite a bit, quite a few sweaters, which I'm super excited about. Throughout the summer, am I gonna knit sweaters? Yes. I will probably knit. They'll probably take longer. Right now I'm averaging about 3 weeks. So I'm hoping that I can knit a fingering weight sweater in a month. I think what I will do is another Murder of Crows. I think that's the one I'm gonna cast on next. Although my friend Sabile wants to do our own like 2-person cowl. So, because I think she wants to do the Robinia. We'll see. You'll see. Whatever I end up casting on. But, yeah. So, I think that's it for right now. Hold on. I need some angry water. Oh. Angry water is just sparkling water. I call it angry water because it has bubbles. And when my cup is super full, the bubbles hit my nose and it's angry water. So, yes, I have quirky words and names for things. And according to my husband, that's part of my charm. I have really enjoyed talking about knitting and revisiting where I started, and I'm looking forward to taking you guys, whoever watches this, it might just end up being my family that logs in and watches this. Who knows? Wherever this goes, I'm totally okay with it. This is fun. It gives me an opportunity to share and, just be a tiny part of the more global knitting community. And yeah, I look forward to interacting with you guys. I would love it if you'd put something in the comments if you enjoyed this, or if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos of what you'd like to see, or maybe where you'd like me to visit. I do have a couple trips already planned. Like in May, I will be in Riga. Favorite place so far in Europe. Possibly because good friends of mine live in Riga. And also going to England. Probably London. Maybe the Cotswolds. We'll see. And then, see what else. So yeah, if you're from Germany or are gonna be in Germany or know of yarn shops that you think I should visit, please put that in the comments. And yeah, thank you for coming and being here at my very first episode. I hope it was enjoyable and not too annoying. And yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hope to see you next time. Bye.